I wanted to speak for a few minutes about the camps that were built in the Lees Mill area down here. Is there anyone here that does not know where Lees Mill is? Lee, do you know where Lees Mill is? It wasn't your mill. But before we speak about the camps, I would like to take you back a couple of hundred years to 1783, when the Homestead Farm was built, because the Homestead Farm and the residents there had a great deal to do with the camps that were built in the Lees Mill area. Lees Mill, right down the road here, is as far north on the lake as you can get before you have to step out on the shore. The Homestead Farm was property that was sold to Bachelor Brown and his wife Abigail back in 1783. And there were 4 generations of Brown families that resided there before others moved in. The reason that I want to talk about the Brown family a little bit is because there was a very strong connection between that home and the activities at Lees Mill. Bachelor Brown had 10 children. The youngest of those was Lyman Brown. Lyman donated a lot of the artifacts that you see laying around the museum here today. Lyman's youngest, No, Lyman was the youngest of Bachelor Brown's children. Lyman had a son, Edwin Franklin Brown. And Edwin and his wife, his wife, Susan. Boy, I get confused. There's so many of them. Edwin's wife, Susan, choked from Sandwich. They had 4 children. And they were all girls, and their names were Cora, Myra, Edith, and Pern. Pern is my grandmother, so I know a little bit about Pern, although I never knew her personally. But the Brown sisters all married gentlemen who had a keen interest in hunting and fishing, and particularly fishing in the lake Winnipesaukee near Lees Mill. And apparently they decided that if they were going to pursue this hobby of theirs, they needed places to stay. So they built the camps. There were 5 of them that were built. One of them didn't care for being on the eastern shore because they didn't like the sun in the morning. So they built another camp on the opposite shore so that they could have the evening sun. The gentleman that they married, in order of the girls' ages, Cora married Bill Raymond, a local gentleman here who worked on the lake and owned and operated a workboat on the lake. And Bill Raymond and Cora lived in the home down there that is currently being used by the Ledgewood Farms folks as a vegetable and fruit stand.
Oh, right here in the village. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was where Cora and Raymond lived.
Cora and Bill.
I'm sorry, Cora and Bill Raymond. Can you edit this so that you can take out all the mistakes that I make?
That's the fun part.
And as I said, Bill Raymond owned and operated a workboat on the lake, and I'm not sure exactly what work they did. I think they built docks and repaired property, property maintenance, that type of thing. Myra Brown, the next oldest, married Willis Carter. He was from Linfield, Mass, I think, down that area somewhere. Edith Brown married a gentleman whose last name was Starkweather. Starkweather was the guy that didn't like the morning sun, so he built another place on the opposite side for the evening sun. And then there was my grandmother Pern, who married Arthur Weeks. Arthur Weeks, right. Arthur Weeks was my mother's father. Let me know if I get any of this wrong now. But anyway, these guys all enjoyed hunting and fishing together, and we have an old album at the camp that has pictures of them catching hundreds of fish out there in the lake, and with their shotguns. So I'm sure that was what drew them to that part of the lake, and built those camps. Those camps were built, the turn of the century, I guess, 2 turns of the century ago, in the early 1900s. We own one of them today, so we enjoy having, being able to be continuous owners of that camp, Camp Inwood. There are some pictures on the wall out in the other room of the interior of the camp and the exterior of the camp, and you can take a look at them as you wander around. Our camp, the Camp Inwood, is pretty much as it was 100 years ago. Look at 100 years ago this year, isn't it, that it was built. The only other camp that's still original is
The island.
the island camp, which was the camp that my grandfather built. And there is the Grey Gull, which is the other camp that my grandfather built. That's been modernized, but there are parts of it that are still original. So anyway, that's how the camps came to be, and there are others. There's the Lone Camp, which is one of the older ones, over on Whaleback. Island.
Clemens is on Will.
Yeah.
Comments, they still have it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
October morning, September Eve.
right.
One of those is pre-1900.
I think Clemens is older.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His was 100 years old about 10 years ago. 'Cause we celebrated it. We lived across from the island
Oh, you do?
on the shore,
Okay.
Oh,
which
Well-
was Will Raymond's land at one point.
Oh,
He
okay.
owned that whole strip of land.
The island camp is pre 100
Yeah, I
years
don't
too.
know what-
I think that was
The Lone Camp, I don't know if you
1893 or
know that
something like
island.
that.
You say island camp, what island camp?
The island camp that I speak of is the one, if you head out from Lee's Mills, it's the,
Right by,
how to describe it so that you know what I'm talking about. You know, you go past the Marcus
Yeah,
Wildlife Refuge, and then there's
Right.
there's a small camp on the left, and you go past the marker 51,
yeah.
and the island camp, it was called Three Pine Island, I think, at the time.
Okay. Yep, yep.
It's on the left as you make the turn
I know that.
to go down the lake.
Yeah.
And
So that was one of the original.
that was one of the original camps, and that's the oldest of them. I think that was the first of the camps that the Brown sisters' husbands
Right.
erected.
Right.
And that, my folks owned that for a while.
Okay. Now, there are 2 other camps though. There's one next to you, right?
Focus.
Beyond us.
Yeah.
Yeah, beyond us, that was the Starkweather camp,
Okay.
the first one,
Okay.
that they preferred the late afternoon sun.
Okay.
So they
Went over
went
the
over
other
to Rest Haven, which is currently owned by Al Hoach and his wife Susan.
Is that the one that was rebuilt?
Yes.
That was rebuilt from ground up, so.
Yeah.
And then the other camp that was part of my family, my ancestors, is the Grey Gull, which is down at marker 52 in the Narrows that goes out into Green's Basin on the right-hand side.
Which we call Weeks Point, we used to call it, well, Bryant's Point.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was the 5th camp that
Oh.
the Brown sisters' husbands erected.
Mhm.
So, and that camp has some originality, although it's been expanded and changed quite a bit. But and I don't know if there's a picture of that camp over there on the wall up in the next room.
I don't know.
The Rest Haven camp. There's a picture of that there, and